Food, the essential to community building. Hello, my name is Shital, and I am based in Watford, which is in England. Watford is very near the Harry Potter studios. I am a trained teacher, or was a trained teacher. I trained over 27 years ago, and about 17 years ago, I decided to have a little bit of a career change, and I went on to do my Montessori training at the Maria Montessori Institute in England, in London. So I did my first AMI training for a full year. I did my 3 to 6 training, and then subsequently I wanted to start my own school. So I started my own little Montessori 3 to 6 environment in Bournemouth. Afterwards, I was so amazed with Montessori as I went on to do my observation course, which is making the use of work curves. And then I went on to do my 0 to 3 training. And then I did my 6 to 12 training. And at every moment, I wanted to set up a different environment. So I did end up starting a 0 to 3 environment. I wasn't very successful with the 6 to 12, but there was a big story around it. And then about 7 years ago, we decided to set up a second environment with the help of my husband. We set up a Montessori environment in Watford. And about 3 years ago, I decided to give up on my very first school with the aim to just concentrate in the one school in Watford. And also about 6 months later, we started a charity. We had a lovely, lovely trip to Tanzania where we met a friend of ours who was running lots of Montessori related projects and lots of wonderful projects. And we then ended up helping to set up a Montessori environment in one of the poorest areas in Tanzania. And we continue to work with the charity aspects of helping children with educational needs, but we're also working very much with the environment here in Watford, which has 2 areas, the 0 to 3 and the 3 to 6. We love what we do. My husband works with me, and we now share the responsibilities. I'm more school-based, classroom-based, and he is doing a lot of the admin and supporting the families and everything else, all the handiwork, everything. Today, I wanted to really, really talk about why I chose to talk to you all about food. I wanted to go back to when I grew up. I have grown up in Kenya, Nairobi, and then I went, as a teenager, went to America to do my undergrad degree. And then subsequently, I came to England. I got married to my husband, and now we live in England. So I've got 3 continents that I've grown up in, but my childhood memories, my absorbent mind was based in Kenya, Nairobi. My first childhood memory was being at the markets, shopping at the markets, talking to the vendors, looking at different displays of papaya, mango, oranges, passion fruit, the vendors getting you to taste all the lovely fruits and showing you all the vegetables, talking to them, the hustle, the bustle, all the different smells of different ripe fruits, all the different language, the colors. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And then the other experience was being at home, being at home and being with the grandparents and cooking. We did a lot of cooking at home. My mom was always, always busy, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. And one of my memories is pounding garlic and making garlic chutney using garlic and lemon and salt and pounding it together with a little bit of oil and making this delicious chutney. But if you can think of that time together with my great grandma and working and sharing and tasting, and it was just such a wonderful memory. The other memories are when we were on picnics with our cousins, sharing food together, when we had weddings to go to, birthday parties, sometimes even just celebrating food when we had a new baby that was born. There was what we call a mitumodu, which is we'd always have a little sweet dish that we would then share with everybody. So there was always a celebration, and with every celebration, there was always an exchange of food. The other memories that I have as a child is the bit of how if anyone came into, it's also possibly a cultural thing, is if anyone came into your house, you'd first of all welcome them with a drink, and then of course welcome them with something to eat. It was just mandatory. And I even now, I get a little bit offended if I was to visit somebody. Wouldn't really personally get offended because it's a different culture in different places. But, you know, if you go somewhere and they don't even offer you a drink, you're like, what happened? Why was that not happening? Anyway, going back to the presentation. So my presentation today will allow all of you to reflect on the importance of the role of food in the environment, in your Montessori environments or school environments, and think of what it would be for the child at school and at home and in our communities. During the presentation, I will also plan to talk about why food forms such an important part of the Montessori ethos. And again, a lot of Montessori practitioners have done so much training, and I just wanted to connect those ideas with how important it is with the whole element of the Montessori ethos. The next bit I wanted to also talk about was how to support leaders, room supervisors, and heads of schools to implement audit tools to support the meal times and food preparation activities. And finally, just where we are and what's happening around the world at this moment, I wanted to talk about COVID-19. I want to talk about how the pandemic has affected the children and families, how we can, as practitioners, support parents and children who are at home during lockdowns. At the moment in England, we're going through another lockdown. Thankfully, our schools are open, but I know in many areas the schools are still shut. And then also wanted to share how at Leavesden, what we did when our schools were shut. We were closed from March until beginning of September, and it was a long time, over 5 months. And our parents needed us, we needed the parents, and it was amazing how we built our community together. And now often the parents will come back and they'll talk about how those moments were very important to connect. So let us begin. So research done in 2017 by an Oxford-based professor has revealed that the more often people that eat with others are more likely to feel happy and satisfied with their lives. If you go back to your Montessori environments, think of all the times when you have those sharing experiences. Think of your infant community. They're always sharing together. Think of your CASA classroom, where you have chances where the children are actually having snack together, or they're having meals together or drinking milk together. So those are important times. There is a lovely paper called Breaking Bread, The Functions of Social Eating, if you wanted to look into it and read about it a little bit more. Then the National Geographic, also, I love the pictures on there, also talk about share pictures of different communities and how different communities have food-based activities. We've got a lovely picture of the ladies enjoying a picnic together, the laughter, the connections, the chatter that's going on. It's just wonderful. Just looking at the body language, you have a family having a meal together, and it's just wonderful. It looks like a Thanksgiving meal, but there's again a lot of laughter, a lot of sharing, a lot of connections going on. You've also got the children, the cultural ways of eating from a banana leaf, eating from a plate, different types of ways of eating. And I wanted to just quickly share another story of my own two children. I've got grown-up children, and my son is now living in America, but he grew up in England, and we were just sharing a little video chat together, and they were having a pizza. And what was interesting was Sunil was eating his pizza with a fork and knife, and his wife, who's American, was eating a pizza with the hands. And if you think pizza originated supposedly in Italy, so if you think about all the cultural bits that were happening, but just the way they were sharing a meal in their own way. Sunil's grown up here, and Shireen's grown up in America. So it was just interesting. So food is very, very cultural. Then there are lots of little projects that are happening all around the world. The one that I really, really enjoyed looking at was where there were pictures of lots of children who were sharing what they were having for lunch. And I thought that was really, really nice, because when you read about the stories, many of the children, their parents are busy, they're working, and they've actually prepared the food with their grandmas or great aunts or some member of the family. And again, the cultural differences just within the continent. These pictures were in Asia, but just the way the food preparation was done, and also the food that we're eating, was basically based around the areas and the locality that they lived in. It's so beautiful. Another little project that I loved looking at was where the charities were actually supporting parents on how to nurture the little children and making sure that they had the right nutrition. And that's where my bit comes from, is with any Montessori environment. If you think of what a wonderful environment it is, how Maria Montessori herself has set up this amazing, amazing place where the children are working with the practical life activities, where they're doing their sensorial work, where they're actually got so much out there, so many rich resources. It's such a wonderful way to feed them intellectually. Then we think of, how are we feeding our children nutritionally? Are we giving them the right nutrition? Are we giving them the right bit? So as practitioners, as heads of schools, it's very important to look at the nutrition that is given to our children. In England, we found at one point there were 80% of our children that were nutritionally deficient in iron. And if you think iron is a very, very important part of any human functioning system. So it's something to think about a lot. Another little story, as I said, I love my stories, and I've been doing this for a long time. When I set up my first Montessori setting all those years ago, we didn't have kitchen facilities to cook meals, so the children would come in with packed lunches. And within those packed lunches were really interesting things. There was a tin of soup, which was a Heinz tin of tomato soup. And Mum had put that in a little lunch box, and I said, yes, you need to open the tomato tin and put it in the microwave for so many minutes and then serve it to the child. And then there was another little lunchbox that had chocolate, a little chocolate mousse. And I was thinking, and I said, gosh, these children, we've got this wonderful Montessori environment, and what are they eating? They're eating stuff that is great. It's not bad, but wouldn't it be nice if I could give them a better meal? And at that point, we started doing our little cooking session where all the teachers had a day where they would spend time. And I love my teachers at that point. They were just wonderful, because after teaching in the Montessori classroom, we all had our little rota days. We would go into the kitchen and we would cook for the children. The food would be nutritionally made. It would be a balanced meal, but it would be made very fresh, very hot, and the children loved the meals. And we had simple days, like we had a potato day where we'd do things like jacket potatoes. We'd have a soup day where every Wednesday was a soup day, and we'd have a different soup, and the children loved it. We had a pasta day. And then in that environment, we had Friday where we had to pack up the whole school. So we'd have a sandwich day, but it was just lovely because the teachers would cook and we'd all have our days when we would cook, and they wouldn't be very happy with me because I'd been there for a long time. It took me a long time to wash up because we didn't have a dishwasher, but it was still really, really empowering to be able to feed our children the right food. So Maria Montessori, we have to go back to Maria Montessori and connect with her. The education of even a small child, therefore, does not aim at preparing him for life, for school, but for life, right? So it's important that we, as practitioners, school heads, we are giving the children what they need. The importance, now I want us to reflect again within our Montessori environments. I'm concentrating mainly with the 0 to 3 and the 3 to 6 environment, but you've also got to think of your communities with the 6 to 12 and the 12 to 18, and think of how important in all of these environments meal times are. Within our community here at Leavesden Montessori, we're open for we're open for 42 weeks, not entire year, but for 42 weeks. And we have breakfast in the morning, and then we have snack, we have lunch, and after lunch, we also have a little snack, and then children go home at 4, and there are some children who stay with us at 6 and they have a tea. So meal times are very, very important for our children. They love to set up, they love the occasion, they love to put the tablecloth out. We don't have candles at the moment, but sometimes they'd have things like candles out there. They would have things like flowers. It's just wonderful. It's just a wonderful time to be together. So we also have things that we do within the Montessori environment, and we do cooking. So the children get to cook things like they make bread, they make soup. I have some pictures to share with you. They also pound herbs. They also do things like, I usually bring my cumin and they'll pound my cumin and I can take it back home to cook. So there's so many different activities that the children do within the Montessori environments. About 3 years ago, my husband discovered he had got green fingers, and we have a lovely, lovely garden within the school environment, and we grow so many different types of fruits and vegetables. Fruits, strawberries, they're so easy to grow. And this year we had about 3, maybe 4 pots of strawberries, which, because of the pandemic, we had no children. So we were actually asking children to take the pots, eat the strawberries and bring the pots back. And strawberries are such an easy fruit to grow. We also always have tomatoes. We usually grow beans, different types of beans. And then we've also got lots of peas, easy peas to grow. And that's kind of part of what the children really enjoy. They like sowing the seeds. They like going into harvest the vegetables, and then they come out and they usually cook with them. Courgettes, my goodness, we had giant courgettes and the children loved it, and loved especially harvesting them. And we've also started cooking with them in the school as well, and lots of herbs. Parties in our Montessori environment, and I'm sure with most Montessori environments, there are lots of parties. We had one important bit that I brought back from my time in America was potluck dinners or potluck lunches or potluck get-togethers, and that became such a big hit with our communities here around the school. And every summer party, after every end of summer, we have a party, end of year party. And at that time, we would have lots of parents who would join us, and they would bring in their signature dish. And then we would, as a community, come together and share. And if you think of what we need around this time, is that connection, the well-being, going back to that Oxford paper about how important food is to keep everyone happy, just thinking of where we are at this moment. So the potluck is a great way, not that we can do potluck at the moment. Now, thinking about Montessori and how food supports the Montessori ethos. If you think of the absorbent mind, I shared a little story about my absorbent mind, what I absorbed as a young child in Africa, going to the market, pounding, garlic for chutneys. Think of our children in our Montessori communities, especially from the age of 0 to 6. As one trainer told me, that the absorbent mind, a child has this wonderful absorbent mind that they will absorb everything in its entirety, and you cannot stop it. The poor child has no choice but to absorb it. So as practitioners, you've got to do your bit and make sure that they get what they need. There's this amazing experience that will be with them forever. The sensitive periods, if you think of order, routines, order can go back to also making sure that as soon as the tablecloth comes out, the children know it's time for a meal. When I go into our infant community and they welcome me to help them for lunch times, at the moment I'm part of that bubble. As soon as the placemat comes up or something, the children know that it's time for a meal, and they know what's happening. They know exactly when it's breakfast time. They know when it's snack time. They know when it's lunch time, and they know when it's milk and biscuit time. It is so amazing. They like that order. So sensitive periods are very much supported in most Montessori environments. And again, food plays a big, important part of it. The same would be for looking at the planes of development, thinking of the needs of children between 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, and then of course the 18 to 24. So you've got to think of how the ethos actually with food would support all these children. If I can think of my group between 12 and 18, they have this amazing want to sell things, to harvest and grow and take it to the marketplace. And then this whole bit of commerce, it all comes in and it connects with the planes of development. The tendencies, these are again very, very important for you to connect. And then you think of all the different environments from 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12, and 12 to 18. Food is an important part of all of this. bit that I really wanted to share with our practitioners and our school heads is the audits. With every audit should be an action plan, and with an action plan, it should be time-stamped so that it can be implemented within the environments. And then once you've implemented it, you need to see what the outcome is. How is it working with the communities that you are working with? How is it supporting your practitioner within the classroom? And how you, as the head of school, can support this. Again, within the audit, I would like you to consider what to include in the food audit. So what sort of foods have you got considering allergies? Think of milk, which could be a high allergen for some children. What we have within our audit is we use the traffic light system. So we use red for children with severe allergies. Then we've also got yellow for food intolerances. And then we've got a blank one for just food preferences where the children for cultural reasons are not having certain things. So there are some children who will not eat eggs or honey if they're vegan. So risk assessments would be part of this whole bit as well. And then again, to think about nutrition in the meals within your audit. Who would not want a peaceful mealtime? Mealtimes can be fun if they're peaceful, and not so fun when not peaceful. Again, going back to having that order for our young ones, and them knowing what is needed for the practitioner to be completely prepared and know where everything is. So whereas within our Montessori environment at Leavesden, we do make a bit of a big deal about lunches and breakfasts and any mealtime. We would have a menu that would be written down, candles, flowers, tablecloths, beautiful tablecloths. I still remember one of the celebrations we had when the children wanted to have a little tea party. This was when Beauty and the Beast had just come out and they all wanted a tea party, and we actually had white linen tablecloths and we set them up and we put flowers, and we went to IKEA and got little espresso cups with saucers. We had little teapots. They loved it. They loved it. So you've got to make an occasion of every little scenario, because these are the children. One day they will be our future, but they are the children who will then want to make a big occasion for many events in their own lives later on. So make it fun, make it peaceful, have beautiful music for them to listen to, and enjoy your meal times at school. COVID-19 strategies to support our parents and children during these unprecedented times. And this was an event we had never experienced. And with the pandemic, I wanted to share what we did at our school to support parents and the children. If you picture a scenario with parents, many of them were working parents at our school who were used to dropping their children to school and then going off to work. Suddenly now, they had to be at home. They were working from home, most of them. The children were at home. They had to cook. They had to help with the children's educational preparation, and in between also organize recreational activities, and to carry on with cooking, cleaning, shopping, cooking, cleaning. It was a scenario that was quite stressful for a lot of parents. It was hard. We also, during that time when we were talking to the parents, they were quite upset about so many little bits, and they were really struggling. They found it very, very difficult. what we did as at Leavesden Montessori was, with the support of a few of our Montessori colleagues, we set up some Zoom sessions. We did weekly planning to send to the children. We did lots and lots of resources that we shared. We did drop-offs to the parents. So regularly we'd drop off, and then every single day I would be writing to the parents, and also in between we shared our recipes so that the parents could cook with the children. This was an important time for them. They needed us, we needed them, because I really thought March, we're shutting the school, we'll be back in May, but that wasn't meant to be. And even now, presently, we're going through a lockdown in England, but we're open. Thankfully, the educational settings are open, so we can actually have the children with us. So that constant communication with the parents, so any setting that has a school has not had the children back and are going through this amazing scenarios, just constantly talk to your parents, share with them, share strategies of how cooking can be, cooking food, and any of these experiences can also be part of their educational time together. So also help them with schedules, talk to them about order, talk to them about routines where if the child is hungry, maybe the dining table or a place to eat is more important than sitting in front of the TV with a bag of crisps or something. Help them with nutrition, talk to them about nutrition and how you could actually have healthy meals or healthy snacks that would support the children. One of the things that we did was we did Zoom cooking sessions, and the parents would join in and they would be asked to have a set of ingredients, and then they would cook alongside to the teacher. So the teacher would, cook, and then the children would cook in their houses. Of course, the parents would be there to support them. And one of our most popular one was when we had cooking cakes with dads, and all the dads came with their aprons and they cooked together. So that was really amazing. I just wanted to, as the last bit, was to share a few more bits with you. So these are some pictures to share from our Montessori environment that might be great for you to connect. And I'm so sure that all of you will be doing some amazing bits in your environments, but just wanted to, it's always good to share pictures, and I love pictures. So this is where one of our practitioners decided to, because as I was saying that we have a beautiful vegetable garden that we use a lot, and we were then looking at life cycles, and here she is exploring different how to grow different vegetables and how they would grow. So she's got seeds and looking at the life cycle of a seed, and she's got different vegetables, and then they were going to do a little investigation into looking at roots and shoots and all of that. And just an enlarged picture of the same. And here's a little one, busy doing the food preparation. She's cutting a mango. So think of all the sensorial input that she would be having at this point. And down here we've got special crocodile tongs. So if anyone looking for special spoons and forks, it's also very important to be aware of what is safe and what isn't. And it's all color coordinated. So the beauty should go with it as well. Food relating to literature. So Handa's Surprise is a wonderful book, and they look at all the different fruits. You've got your mango and your guava and passion. Again, children love exploring all of that. This is our harvest from the garden. So you've got your tomatoes, you've got two types of beans. That's the big courgette. It's almost like a marrow, it's huge. We've also got a chili pepper, isn't it cute? And look at all the different types of tomatoes. You've got the small ones and the big ones. Here they are making a little soup. So they're busy with the beans, getting them ready and cutting different bits for our soup. So we finish today by saying thank you for listening to me, and thank you for being part of the children's Montessori journey and the journey to become adults that they will one day be. So what Maria Montessori said in To Educate a Human Being, the human potential is, we shall walk together on this path of life, for all things are part of the universe and are connected with each other to form one whole unity. So best wishes with all, and thank you again.